Hi guys, welcome back to our channel Swipe to Learn. Today we are back with another new video of database keys. So we have seen about how our DBMS works, and database keys is very important concept. We have n number of different types of keys. We'll discuss about each of the key in detail, and this will help you in the representation of our DBMS. So what is key? Keys are a very important part of the database model. They are used to establish and identify the relationship between the tables and also to identify each row. By this video, you have seen the multiple times of using me primary key. What is primary key? A primary key is always like unique data and it won't contain null values. It uniquely identifies each of the row. So, in the same way, a key can be a single attribute or a group of attributes where the combination may act as a key. So, a key it's something like how we uniquely identify any record or row of the data in the table is called as a key. If you see with the different types of keys, we are here with 10 types of key like candidate key, super key, alternate, foreign key, partial key, surrogate key, composite key, unique key, secondary key, primary key. We'll discuss about all these 10 types of keys in detail, and keys, different types of keys is very important. Like you need to know what really the key is used for, and if you go with the table, you need to point out like what is which type of key, right? Let's see in each of them in detail. So here I'm using a simple table, student table. Its attributes are student ID, name, phone, age, or you say it as column values as student ID, name, phone, and age. We'll see about each of them in detail. So firstly, we'll go with the super key. What is super key? Super key is like it uniquely identifies. It's a superset of candidate key. Like if you say with student ID, name, student ID is unique for every row of the data. But the basic concept, that student ID is a primary because it's always unique. But if you see with the name can't be primary key, right? Because name will always be same, may or may not be same. But the combination of student ID, name. Suppose student ID is always unique. A primary key combination with another key can also be a combination of a key because if you say a same name but their serial number would always be different, right? So the combination of 5 comma a is different from the combination of 6 comma a, but these two have the same name. So we take the combination of a primary key with another key can also be a key. Whereas if you see with the phone number, primary key will take only one, right? Phone number. Phone number for every student will be unique. Hence, phone number can also be a key. Phone number, but student ID can't be null, but phone number can be null, right? Sometimes. So, we say it's a combination of keys or a unique key is called as a super key. It's a superset of the candidate key. So, what is candidate key? We have told superset of candidate key is called a super key. Now, let's see what is candidate key. Candidate key is the minimal set of the fields which can uniquely identify each record in a table. Like, there can be more than one candidate key. Like, student ID and phone both are candidate keys. Like, a candidate key can never be null or empty, and its value should be unique. There can be more than one candidate. Like a candidate key is a similar a primary key. You can also say primary key is a candidate key, right? We have we have to identify candidate keys in the table. Like their phone number is a candidate key and ID is also a candidate key. But we take most important and useful case as any of it as a primary key. A candidate key can be a combination of more than one columns. Together combinations also can be a candidate key. So if you see here, student ID, name, phone, these are all candidate keys and these all together are called as a super key, right? Candidate key also follows the same principles as a primary key. They can never be null or empty, and there can be more than one candidate keys for a table. It's a key is a combination of more than one column or attributes. Primary key, as I told earlier, primary key is a candidate key. It's a one of the candidate key. It's the most appropriate to become the main key of the table. It can uniquely identify each record in the table. For example, in our table, student ID is the primary key here. What is composite key? Key that consists of two or more attributes that uniquely identify any record in a table is called composite key. So if you say student ID and subject ID together called as composite key. Like for the same roll number or student ID 5, we have different subject IDs say S1 and S2, right? But 5 S1, S2. If you see with the S1 subject, you have several other students, say 6, 7, etc. But the combination of 5 comma S1, the composite key will always be unique, right? So this is composite key. Like the two or more attributes together identify them minimally. Foreign key. We have seen in the previous video of foreign key, right? It's an attribute in one table refers to the primary key of other table, like the same ID here. If you see here, ID, name and course is the student table here. We have ID. It is primary key because it will not be null and it's already unique for each and every row. So ID name. Whereas I have the student marks, I map with ID and marks. This is enough in my student marks table. Here, the same ID will refer as the foreign key, primary key and foreign key. Like ID. If you see with ID, you check in the student and map to the student. So the parent table primary key will be the foreign key in the child table, or you can also call it as a referencing table. The table which is referenced is called as a referenced table, right? So this will be foreign key. In this table, if you have ID 204, 2041 should be in the student table. If it is not there, then it's not following the referential integrity constraint. If you didn't see the video, go back and check in our channel. We have the constraints video, right? This is how foreign key works. And unique key. A unique key refers to a column or a set of columns that identify each record uniquely. Unique key is different from primary key. Like primary key won't have null values, but unique key can have null value. So this is the difference between unique key and the primary key. Like it identifies each and every record and the table should be unique, but it can also have null values. That is the difference between unique key and primary key. And let's see with the partial key. The set of attributes that are used to identify a weak entity set is called as partial key. Like it also called as a discriminator. Like it's just part of a key only as a subset of attributes. Like if you see with an for an entity apartment, it has attribute apartment number. This will be the partial key because it's unique within a building but not globally unique, right? In the same way, if you go with building and building ID, it will be the primary key. It uniquely identifies the building. Like if you see with an apartment, we have n number of buildings, and each in n number of buildings, we go with 1 to m of apartments, right? 1 to m of apartments are unique within a building but not globally unique. In this scenario, building ID between a community, building ID will be uniquely defined. This is called as a partial integer because apartment is a weak apartment number. These are a weak entity set. So the attribute which uniquely identifies the weak entity set is called as the partial key. Let's move on to next. Surrogate key. Surrogate key is an internally generated key which is used to identify them. Like a customer ID can be generated as surrogated key to uniquely identify the customer, right? Like system generated values such as timestamps, etc. We have here customer ID and name, email, and date joined. So we generate the customer ID to each and every customer so that it's not defined, like you don't take enter values, right? To identify each of the customer, you take it as a surrogate, like you derive it. For each and every time of login, you give a unique key. You generate the key and give. So whenever you are reference the customer, you reference them with your generated key. This is called as surrogate key. And secondary or alternative key, like the candidate key, which is not selected as the primary key, are called as secondary or alternate key. Like it's used to describe any key that is in primary key. That is called as secondary or alternate. All the keys other than primary key are called as secondary or alternative keys. And what are non-key attributes? Non-key attributes are the attributes other than candidate keys. Like they're not a key at all. Those are called as non-key attributes. Non-prime attributes are the attributes other than primary attributes. We'll see about all the keys in detail in short. So what is super key? Super key is the superset of all the candidate keys. So superset of candidate keys. So this they can be used a unique primary key and a combination of unique primary key and candidate key. All these together or comes under super key. And what is candidate key? Candidate key which uniquely identifies each record. It's also a primary key. It should always be unique and it should helps us to identify the row, and it should never be null or empty. One among the candidate key that is most appropriate will be the primary key. And if you see with the primary key is a candidate key that should be unique and it should not contain null values. Composite key, like it consists of two or more attributes together identified as a set, will become the composite key. They are not a key independently or individually, but together can become a key. Those are called as composite keys. Foreign key, like the same ID, the same primary key, when used in another table by using a referencing, then the table which is referenced in that the key will be the foreign key, and the in the parent table it will be the primary key. Foreign table it Foreign key is an attribute in one table that refers to primary key in the another table. Unique key, a unique key is same as a primary key but can have null values, whereas primary key cannot have null values. Partial key, partial key, it is a uniquely identifies the weak entity set. Like unique for the strong entity set, we have primary key. For the weak entity set, if you want to identify it uniquely, you use partial key. Surrogate key. Surrogate key is an internally generated key by the developers or the administrator. Like we generate them for easy of referencing the individual person or individual tables. Secondary or alternative key. All the candidate keys which are not selected as primary key. One among the candidate keys will be selected as the primary key, right? So all the other keys which are not, all the candidate keys which are not selected as the primary key are called as secondary keys, and non-key attributes are the attributes other than candidate key, and non-prime attributes are the attributes other than primary key attributes. Congratulations on mastering key. Keep practicing and let your code flow like a well structured. This is very important. You need to know about all the different types of keys that help you to learn and easily identify the keys in the tables. For all the tables which you have drawn in the from the previous video, try to identify the keys and their types. Thank you guys for watching.